Let's get going here. So, yeah, watching ES here, creep back up. The 5 minute support I'm watching 39.7350. That is the 5 minute or demand that we fought with all day, basically, off of this candle right here. And we got close to closing underneath it. That was early this morning. Didn't and bounced a few times, so I could mark that out again. But long story short is we did get under it finally. And we did come down to this next zone. So I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to see us bounce like we are, but
It is. And I didn't know how much further we were going to go down. I really didn't think that we were going to come near that bottom zone that we have, but we did. And I got into calls when I started to see the move making it upwards. I am still in those calls, and I'm gonna hold it until we get back up to the zone where we were earlier today, the 1 hour zone earlier today, which is 39.7650. I mean, unless it reverses, but I'm so far up right now. I have my stop loss at a tight stop.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, buying off the bottom there is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Now, what hourly are you talking about? You must be talking about this
The
one.
one up at the top, all the way up at the top. And
Well, that's 4018. So
I have 39.7650 all the way up to 400.375.
all the way up to 403. Yeah, I don't know where you're grabbing that from, but
it's a big one from February 23rd. I have had that on here.
oh, that's you're talking about this thing.
I think so. I'm not looking at the screen right now.
I mean, that's outdated for sure.
It is, but I mean, it's been touching the bottom and the top of it for all day today. Well, not all day today. It touched it once at the bottom at 1 a.m. It hit the top at 6 a.m. and then it came back down at 8 a.m. Went back up.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, I yeah, for sure. You can keep that, but the issue with that is that there are new zones formed, right? So like you're playing what Price has been playing off of is we ripped up, after that candle was created here.
Uh-huh.
And I want to say, yeah, see, and that was inside this fucking monstrosity here too. Inside of this guy here. But anyways, but no matter what, like since we got it's become invalidated. I mean, you can save the levels and play from it.
Okay.
But you would have gotten more precise levels if you had used even this hourly here, right? Off of this February, the 4 p.m. from the 24th.
Inside of that zone, I did find more hourly zones.
Right.
I just left that one because it was so close to my highs and lows that I marked for today. But I left it. I did see the other zones, and I did do 5 minute and 15 minute zones inside of that. Which is why this morning before market open, I was able to play really, really, really good futures. Now, once the market opened, it was a chop fest. And I mean, I didn't lose a hell of a lot of money, but it was a bitch trying to recover from from the losses on everything, like going in the opposite direction that I wanted it to.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely chop. I mean, this is the opening candle here. We dropped down, we touched this 5 minute demand, almost instantly, and pop back up. And we did just go back up to the zone here. So it's not super surprising, but you look what we did. This is a lot of chop, and we ended up trending back down, pretty much tagged that 5 minute demand again. And then, did get a little bit of a pop, but again, it didn't really go all the way up. I mean, you would have had to play it till 130. You would, if you bought long here, and if you're in, if you're in futures, you can just sit there and hold it. I mean, if that's
without
what, you know,
any
if that's what
theta
you want
burn.
to do, but
But I
yeah,
didn't,
I mean, if
yeah,
you're in calls though, and you're in short dated, calls, you know, this shit will chop you up. Now, granted, by the time it got back up here, these, you know, calls paid out depending on what strike you had, but, yeah, no, it
no,
was definitely choppy.
see, I had short stops on mine. I played at Spy and I'm up to 10 contracts now. But I had short stops on it, so every time it would do a pullback, it would just stop me out, and that's fine. And then I would reverse the play. I just didn't want. I'm doing next day expiration, and I just didn't want to lose too much money, you know. And I'm doing pretty good with my risk management and keeping my losses really low by just playing, you know, sections at a time. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's what you want to do, you know. You want to be able to manage your risk and not take huge losses. For sure. So I mean, yeah, and that's I mean, when you're trading contracts compared to futures, it's definitely a different story. You know, if you're long futures or short futures, that's different than buying calls or puts, you know. I mean, it's unless you're trading futures options, but obviously that's
Didn't
another
know that
story.
existed. Yeah. I only play options when the market is closed because I can do better on SPY.
How do you trade options when they're closed?
No, not options. I'm sorry, futures.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say,
Futures.
I'm like, how are you doing that? I mean, there may be third-party brokers, but I haven't yeah, right. No, you can't, you know, I mean, absolutely. If you're gonna during the day, if you can trade options, um, you know, it's not a bad thing. Although if you can catch, you know, bottom line is if you see a trade coming into a zone that you know is held. I mean, even this morning, I don't think I had this laid out on the other chart, especially because you know I should have seen that we held this 5 minute demand here, this dotted line in the pink. Yeah, and I don't know, DJ, I just that the yellow one is that 377. That's some stuff that Neo has put out. I can tell you what these other ones are, but and then obviously these big, you know, this long pink and orange, those are all the that's the 50-day, that's the 200-day pinned to the daily. So anyways, but yeah, you know, had what we should have seen this morning for sure is that, you know, this had held earlier this morning. And when price came down and touched it, you know, right at open, that was a buy spot, right? You know, and even if we missed it in the morning when it came back down, of course, that was 10:50. I was already gone at that point. So I missed this, but would have bought here. But even there, I mean, it played, you know, it would be good for a scalp. And at least knowing that the OG zones are here, you know, that you're coming into an area that's going to be resistance, that you're going to have some sellers in. But I mean, even this, it pulled back significantly, right? And I mean, it dipped, that's fine. But if you were holding, you know, 0 DTs or plus ones, they were taking a big hit depending on what your strike was. So yeah, today was a little bit choppy. Individual stocks did okay. Obviously, the end of the day was really where the action was at. So I don't know if you guys caught that. It sounded like you all were on Zoom for a little bit. I think I know Phil texted me anyways, but he said that he was on Zoom for a bit. But yeah, so no, it's not bad. What I want to see, you know, this bounce, it's just fucking. I mean, it'll probably get faded here. That's what I'm assuming. What I'm looking for is a retest of this area and then a drop back down. But with that said, it doesn't have to do that. You know, the bottom line is that we touched this area last week. You know, we touched this 3950 zone. So we are just coming back down and testing it again. And even on the 4-hour, you know, it's not exactly you know, it's a higher high or higher low, right? Now it's a lower it's a lower high, and it's obviously trending down, but it's going to be an interesting day. I'm hoping we don't chop too much tomorrow, you know, with the Nvidia offering. It'd be nice to see some more downside. There is the 200-day though that this is holding. This is, you know, on ES, you got this right here, pretty much right at this, what is it, 39.49 spot 25. So pretty much 39.50 on ES. 100 days right underneath it, obviously. And this trend line, this diagonal here, is from the all-time highs, right? So just keep that in mind. That's that trend line for what it's worth, from the all-time highs. I think I did it on the daily, but I'm gonna go fuck it up. You know what? I'm gonna just put it back. Anyways, you know, and that's kind of what we're kind of pinned in between, right? Like we broke this uptrend, which is, you know, it's good for the bears, makes sense. But until we get, you know, underneath, and you could even just follow the moving averages. I mean, the 200-day and the 100-day, that'll be about right with this. You know, this is really just a retest of that you know, long-term trend line, or that all-time high trend line, that breakthrough, right? This is the first like significant retest. So, you know, we got to get through that shit. So I really feel like until we get underneath 3,900, we're not like just clear for more downside that could easily chop. So it's kind of that's what I'm thinking going into tomorrow. I know, you know, a lot of this depends on where we open up. So today was I wish I had traded the afternoon though. Again, I mean, I'm happy to get my kids, but it's a little annoying. So there's definitely a level here, right? And that's where you're getting that that hourly from, whether it's the 4-hour or hourly. You know, there is a bit of some interaction here, and it's very similar to where this high was back here. See how that kind of lines up, this wick, right? You can even see the interaction here where it kind of paused on that. So there's definitely, you know, it's kind of that midpoint between the two OG zones. The thing to keep in mind, and I mean, definitely marking the thing I will say though, if you're going to get signals from the candles, right? If you're just looking for like support and resistance place for it to possibly bounce, you know, you can just kind of have that level in there. But if you're looking for, you know, a place to get a signal from, if you get an hourly close under this, right, which would be the support, or even a 4-hour, then you don't have, like, you've already gotten that signal through this. So like, it's not, the signal is not valid anymore, I guess would be what I'd say. It's not that the level isn't going to see some interaction. It's just, you want to make sure you're getting the most recent supply and demand zones in order to really get the signal after the candle close. So whether it was this hourly demand here, or the 5-minute zone, which I prefer just because it really held, you know. So we'll see what happens. I mean, this was the key. This is really the trigger, and this is what, you know, should have seen going into the morning. I didn't trade the morning though, definitely was busy, and then took kids to school, got back, and I don't know, started everything up. So it is what it is. But that was a telltale sign, right? And it's not that the zone comes from there, it literally comes from back here, right off this candle, which, you know, it's like, why not, you know, one of these, you know, very well could be you know, a candle in this area here. But again, we saw how it held here, right, in this period of time, which was what that was morning time as well, Monday morning. So it's interesting that the pre-market holds the same areas multiple times, but we definitely tested it today twice. So it would have been decent. Now let's look at some other stocks real quick. Let's see if this pops up. You do have the 5-minute supply here. That's probably going to be an area, or yeah, it's 5-minute supply. And then there's also the 15-minute was running really well today too. So where was the other 15 minutes? Yeah, I forget what we were looking at. I know Phil was talking about maybe that was it too. Yeah, I guess that lines up closer with the hourly, but anyways, I know the 15-minute zone's held. The thing I like about the 5 is we've seen that multiple times, right? Now this area here, it's the same situation. We see it hold here, right? So we know this zone is in play. You know, and obviously that was what was that? That was Monday afternoon, yeah, 2 p.m. So when we trend back up to this, right, this obviously came from Tuesday early right, 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, that's when we see this hold again and then break, Definitely I like keeping an eye on this level, like when these, and it's not always the 5-minute zones that do this, but lately, or this week so far, it's definitely been the spot to watch. So I'm going to be watching it tomorrow going into this week. I plan on being around more. But if we do get a push up, right, that's definitely an area. I mean, I'm watching the, if you look at this on like 4-hour, we went up to where was it? Yeah, that was last week, right? Right, or was that Monday? No, it was fucking Monday. What am I saying? So I guess that was Monday. Yeah, I guess that was Monday. Man, my days are all fucked up. But anyways, when we pushed up, yeah, we pushed into the OG zone and the hourly. But you can see from the 4-hour, this would have been the 4-hour supply, right? I mean, it still is technically. And the fact that we held that and closed underneath was a pretty good signal. We tagged that and closed underneath. This was the morning candle, right? So that would have gone till, I don't know, what's that, 6 o'clock candle. So it goes to 10, I believe. So weird how the candles are all different. Anyways, so when this one opened, right? This one opens at 10 o'clock, runs up. It's something, and this is, you're not going to see this on SPY, right? The candles aren't going to be lined up the same. So this is unique to ES, not even the SPX has, because the SPX time frame is an hour later than the usual. So on the 4-hour, but needless to say, when you see a test like this is perfect, right? Like that should have stood out. So I am watching that level too, 40-15 on ES. See this candle here, we tested it, closed below, and of course that was during market hours. So pretty straightforward. And then obviously we pushed up, which is a good fake out, and then using the OG zones just kind of as like a a marker that it's like, look, we're running up. It makes sense that we kind of tagged that and then sold off nicely, for the rest of the day, and then continue on. So today, so this is the look that we have here, and I believe there's 4-hour demand. Oh no, there's not. That's right. Yeah, this was the 4-hour demand, or the 4-hour support for what it's worth, that we broke, and then we of course rallied right back up. And one of the signals there for that was that we held the zone here. So that's what I'm watching here as well. Like I want to see where this candle actually closes out. Oh, actually, it closes in 23 minutes. So it's probably going to close, somewhere in this range up here, which isn't necessarily bullish, but it does mean that we're holding this for now, right? So we'll see what the next candle does overnight. And depending on where we open, whether if we open up, up near this zone, up near the 39.90 on ES, and we'll go look at SPX as well. Then that's what I'll be looking for. I want to see where the 4-hour closes. This candle is part of this 4-hour supply up here, right? It's under the control of that. So that means that this this bullish candle here is actually a 4-hour supply as well. It's not the main one, but we can get a signal off of it. So say we get a push up, tags, and it comes back down and it closes. If we see that overnight, because right now it's what it's going to be 10 o'clock, so that'll be 2 Eastern. And then 6. So by 6 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, we should be able to see, obviously we'll see where the next candle is closed, and then the candle after that. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for. Keep in mind too, so this is technically the demand. So really I'm just interested in the support. And of course, from the 4-hour, look where we came down and touched, right? I mean, we pretty much touched that hourly, so you don't need the 4-hour, but it is interesting just to see how this plays out. Just reading the
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if he can talk or not, but he was asking a question, DJ, in the main chat, looks like a minute ago.
no,
asking
I'm
if the-
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good, dude. Yeah, I can read it. It's just yeah, ES, because I'm trading the futures. So ES, when you're trading futures, you want to use ES. That's you don't want to use the SPX because it's at that point or the SPX 500 USD. So you want to use ES. So I mean, I still have SPX for sure. Mainly because that's where the zones are at, and they do move. It's the candles move around on the futures. It's one of the reasons I don't like to chart them. Also the time frames are part of it. The candles end up looking different. It's just it's not that you can't chart it. I used to do it on TD, which was which is fine, but this is kind of what's worked for a long time. So the reason, you know, and bottom line is that this tracks, you know, the price of SPX almost perfectly, right? Within a point or two. And it does vary sometimes once in a while, but I mean, lately it's been almost the same, almost exact. So the and ES, obviously it's a little bit closer now. So like ES is at 39.72, and SPX if SPX was open, it would be 39.65. So, you know, that's actually crept back to like a $6 difference. That's what it was at, I think, when we were looking at it earlier this week. Now the contract will close. Well, this contract, not this, but ES 1 exclamation point. This will roll eventually here. I don't know when they actually roll this per se, but the expiration's coming up here in March. So, and that's where we have tri-witching. Next month we have the futures. I believe it's the index and equities, but I believe that's what the three are. Yeah, so even looking at SPX, it's very similar. I mean, it's the same price structure, right? So looking at the hourly, although some of the levels will change slightly, so it is interesting to note what's what. The let me see here. Yeah, this is obsolete now. So tomorrow is Tesla Investor Day, right? So that's what I want to look at as well. So you can see like the zones are pretty much the same spot, although you'll see the candles will be a little bit different, right? Let's go to the 5 minutes, see if I can show you that. See how it's a little bit closer to where we bounced, and it's because these ones don't move. That's the thing to keep in mind. These, I mean, it's not that the zones move on ES, but ES will shift in relationship to, you know, this CFD. So it's one of the reasons I like to stay on with this. And then I just adjust the zones as, you know, as needed. I don't adjust them every day. As long as they're working, I'll keep them. But yeah, anyways, this is really where the bread and butter's at. But once you get to like the 1 hour and the 4 hour, they're pretty damn close. As far as the 4 hour goes, I wonder, yeah, so see how we see on this, you have your 4 hour demand here, right? And you can see how we touched it, pulled up, closed above, and then we had this big wick down, of course, and pulled back up. This is the 5 p.m. candle, right? It pulled down and then came back up and closed above. So not surprising that we see this open here and we're moving up. See how this is off? This opened up, this 4 hour candle opened up at 42 minutes ago. Part of it's that it doesn't close. I mean, it is closed technically between 5 and 6, but because it's a CFD, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why the difference is so drastic, but it is what it is. And that's how you get the differences across different platforms, different brokerages, you know, and especially if people are trading from overseas, you see that difference. At the end of the day, look at what we've done though, right? We pushed down, we've consolidated, right? But we've bounced back and forth between these zones. And then obviously we came down, touched this one. And that's basically what we're doing right now. So I do expect us to probably come up and touch that zone, like what SJ was saying, you know, talking about. We probably will, although we could also come up here and turn around just about anywhere, you know, that we're at here. And then trend back down. And if that's truly what, you know, if price is going to kind of drift lower, then that's, you know, that's what we'll see. So I do want to kind of follow this. I think, yeah, it's hard to say if we're going to pop up or just retest this. We haven't actually retested this level yet, but keep an eye on that anyways. All right, so let's take a look at Tesla. So Tesla looking interesting. So this we did get the close. This hourly was over here all day, right? Until or I guess not all day, but at 11 o'clock we knew we got the close below, and now it did bounce right back up. That's the thing with Tesla with Investor Day. It's going to be volatile unless we see you know, things sell off pretty hard. I would still expect a bounce down here around 200. That is where the next hourly demand is at, right? Right near the bottom of the zone. We'll see. You could see what happened. Obviously, overnight, it didn't do much in pre-market, and then just ran up, and sold off nicely once it got, once it hit this daily demand or daily supply up here in this gray. I mean, it sold off pretty well. I mean, that really was a nice spot to short if possible. And then, right, that happened. Yeah, that was pretty much in the morning. And then when we retested the bottom of the zone, that was a great short too for anybody that could have caught it. Yeah, the other thing, DJ, the reason I also have been doing more with ES is because if I posting the SPX 500 USD chart on Twitter, it confuses the fuck out of everybody. And it's I basically came to the realization that it's not worth fighting it. If people are really interested in following the zone, especially if you're in like the Discord, then it's something that we can show and explain time and time again. So I have, not only am I using it for futures, I've also been posting it more often. And it is relevant. I mean, like this chart here, this is the big picture, right? I put this again out on Twitter. This is what a lot of people have been missing. I mean, we came up, this is obvious weekly supply, right? We tested that back the end, last week of, where was that? Yeah, start of January 30th. So, pretty much the beginning of February. I mean, we tested and closed under, right? And then we had 2 weeks of red that cut, they closed not only bearish, but they tried to test that supply zone and just the sellers were there. And this is a heavy seller area because we tested it back here and we tested it here with obvious results of closing much, much lower. So this is a little bit different, partially probably because we broke the trend line because we're just in a different, we're just, at a different point with the market. But with that said, if you look at what we've done, right, we broke through this downtrend line, and that's really what we came up and retested so far this week. So this is a decent, this is a good picture to keep in mind, right? For anybody, that this is the big picture. We do have demand down here, so it very well could hold 39.11. Maybe we dip down to 3900. But if we do break that, I expect to see 3,800. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at. Just keep in mind, that's on like a weekly or multi-week basis, right? So maybe go out to the next monthly, give yourself, 4 to 6 weeks on contracts. And obviously zoom in on some little bit tighter time frames to take the entry. But again, if your trade plan is based around something like this, then it's you're gonna, you'll have some decent luck with it. So it'll be interesting to see what we do if we retest this trend line. I mean, trend lines are subjective, but if you view them on something like the weekly, you can see like once we got a close above, that's where we really, it was continuous, right? Even this week that we pushed up, obviously it sold off by the end of the week. This week pushed up, closed here. This is a cleaner looking chart when it comes to this shit. Then if you look at the SPX 500 USD, or even SPY, in my opinion, although SPY will look very similar to this at this point because you're looking at the weekly. So but yeah, so we'll take we'll see what happens here. This is a big demand zone. There's a lot going on in here. Just keep in mind that we were stuck in here. Once we came back down, we were stuck, basically 3 weeks. On that 4th week, that's when we finally got that 3rd week. We got to close above just barely, right? And that's where you can see here we closed above just barely, and then we got that retest and a big push up. So just keep in mind that that's kind of the same situation we're still in. So this is something that I'm watching now. If this changes, and again, this is on a weekly closing basis, so you really have to wait for the weekend or wait for Friday, obviously, to see what's happening. But yeah, so I don't know if you look at this on let's go back to the week and we'll look at SPX in comparison. Right, because this is now if we threw like that trend line on this, let's see what happens. Very similar, but it's not the numbers are different, right? They're close enough, but it is interesting to see, you know, like the weekly demand, right? It's the same idea. We still spent these weeks inside of it. And, you know, something to keep in mind, like when we did this retest, it was almost perfectly this level. Now 38.81 compared to 39.11 is, and you got to remember too, like there's at this point of time, you know, there could have been anywhere from like a $10 to $20 or 20 point difference between price. So at the time when this broke through, that might have actually been closer to equal than we thought, right? I don't think it's been 30 points since then, but anyways, yeah, so things to keep in mind, right? There are different levels to see bounce. It's not that one is right and the other one's wrong. It's just that we will see price bounce probably at both these levels, right? But if you see one break through, especially if like ES got a weekly close and, you know, down inside of this demand, depending on where SPX closed, it'd be worth taking note of both. And then, you know, kind of having an idea. It's like, look, if SPX closes just on top of it and it looks like it's holding, even though ES dipped inside of it, remember, we don't really get a bearish signal until we close underneath it. So that could very well say, hey, look, we're probably going to bounce back up, you know, going into that next week. So but anyways, it's worth paying attention to both of them, I think. Man, I was looking for, this is starting to roll a little bit. So I would like to, I was trying to get a short on at 39.74. But it has not gotten up there yet, which is a little annoying, but anyways, we'll see if it does. And this very well could pop up, by the way, right up to 39.78. Actually, let's set an alert so I'm not fucking feeling like I need to pay attention. Whoa. Interesting. I didn't realize on ES, you see how many alerts that it had? That's interesting. When you see all that, look at that. I guess maybe that is the same because I have so many MAs on this. All right. So anyways, with Tesla, right? We close, this is the weekly. This is what I think is going to happen with Tesla. I think that no matter what with AI day, you know, if we push up, whatever, we're going to get a sell. So I'm going to be shorting it going into the end of the week. You know, looking for opportunities to short it with some time, right? With a couple weeks, whatever, because you can see how we tested, closed below, tested, closed inside, right? This green level here, I know there's a lot going on here, but the green, you know, green level is where we were at. We closed inside, but then last week closed below, back underneath. So, I mean, it's a pretty good signal. Now, you know, we'll see where this week closes. But, you know, unless things are just ripping for some reason, which I mean, Tesla could rip all the way up to 230, right? But I do think it's going to come back down. So we'll just play it by ear. So far, it looks like it, you know, it's struggling to even get up past the regular zone. So the daily, there's that daily supply. Keep eyes on that. That's from back here. This guy right here. You can see multiple times we've tested, fell back out. I would like to short this back down. So, and you know, for everybody, it's a gap person. There's a nice gap right down here it could go to. So 150, that sounds great. It's a good starter spot, you know. Then maybe we can go back to 130 again. Ho, ho, ho. All right, so let's do that. NVIDIA. I did update the NVIDIA charts, by the way. What's up?
Just in case anybody who doesn't do options, TSLQ, I know I've said it before, but that's the bear ETF for Tesla. If you want to short it, if you like doing commons, a lot more you do
what is
options.
it? Isn't there Tesla Q?
Yeah, TSLQ. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Right.
It's the bear ETF for Tesla. So
yeah,
if you're interested
absolutely.
in shorting it and not wanting to do options, that's another route you can look into.
Yeah, and there's an inverse for chips as well. And maybe even for NVIDIA. I think there is specifically for NVIDIA. But there's also a you know, a bear ETF just for semiconductors. So I'm not sure what the ticker name is, but you could definitely search it and find out. So there's a lot, you know, there's some good ones. Now I will say this, what I'm looking for tomorrow on NVIDIA is, you know, if we drop, let's see where we open, right? I assume that we'll probably come down and do something in this hourly demand. In which case, wait for maybe a pop, come back up, test, test one of these areas. The reason this yellow and gray are dotted is because they are the old, they're the old resistance, right? That we did pop above, and obviously we're holding here for a little bit. And it's obviously on the 4-hour, the yellow, right? Same thing. The, just something to keep in mind anyways. And I'm pretty sure I checked it back here. Shit. Yeah, there was nothing back here. No bullish candle anyway. So I'm thinking that may be what we do, right? Come down. Now we'll have to see if it's truly bearish. If things are rolling over, then I'm going to play it underneath this 219, and we'll go from there. But I do think that we'll see 210, if not a little bit lower. There is a main demand. Definitely the big demand's down here, but there is one right here around 210. So, well, we'll see as it comes down, what it's going to do. There are going to be people that buy it up though. So part of me kind of hopes that it gets bought up, runs back up to 230 would be a good number, to then turn around and short the shit out of it, because I did not get into it, even though I should have up here. There were multiple instances where today was really probably the best entry on that, but even what was that? That was Monday, right? Yeah, that was yesterday. Could have taken it, especially after we faded the first time going into the end of the day. So, but that is what it is. There's always another trade for sure. What was the other one? Oh, AMD. There's actually a few on the chip side. I was looking at Amazon here. The fact that I think it closed the day. Yeah, so this is something to pay attention to with Amazon. I know it's down quite a bit, but I think it could easily drop, and it may get another pop back up. You got to keep that in mind. We could easily see a pop up, and then that may be the short entry. But because we closed underneath we had one day, right? That was last Friday, where we actually closed underneath this daily demand. And we gapped up, obviously, came down, closed. Today we did close back up inside of it, but it is holding this OG zone, right? The white zone. And it's also it is still holding this old demand. So I want to see what it does tomorrow. But I do like it as a potential short from here. So, and you can see what it did. And again, just know that the daily zone is here. And then just play the OG zone, right? And then obviously you have the hourly demand down here. That's going to be pretty key. Obviously some levels down below, and then you have the expected moves. So depending on what the market is doing, but I do like that. I wasn't interested in shorting Amazon, except I think there's enough room to drop now. I think honestly, I could see it coming down. I think the next daily, right? No, where is the next daily? I don't know. There's a bunch of gaps here, obviously, from it running up. So technically it would be right here. So that's 87.50 range, right? For what it's worth, is going to be your spot. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that right now, but this shit's got to go. Hate it when I get like those ghost zones that I can't really see, when we're zoomed in. I can't really tell that they're even there, because they're so light without the lines. But yeah, this one looks good. I like this. So that's actually it's one that's kind of new. I was looking at tonight. Google could drop, obviously Apple. What was the other one? Let's take a look at AMD. Oops. Yeah, so AMD, the short would have been today when we popped up, right? I was watching, I thought I had an alert up here. I think I talked about that today. I don't know why I thought I put it in. Anyways, if I had it, it would have been at the zone and I wouldn't have tagged anyways. So I may have it on a different layout actually, and then, which you wouldn't see on this, but it would still go off. But anyways, didn't go off. That would have been a great short. Just coming up to the zone, right? It came up to $80, fucking roll over. So yeah, would have been just fine. So not sure if that's what it's going to do again with NVIDIA, but am watching this for potential breakdown. We can put, if I want all that. Yeah, what I do want is this though. All right, anyways. And it looks like we have another ghost zone that needs to get fucking booted. See ya. Anyway, so there is, you do have the daily here for what it's worth. I'm sure there'll, could be some interaction there, although we have bounced off of it once. And I think if you get a enough sell side, it'll probably roll through that and come down. And technically this is going to be your daily. So what's that? 74.25. So most likely would come down and bounce off of the zone down here. That's what I'd be looking for at least. And the 50-day, right, is this orange that's coming up. You can see the 200-day here, although it didn't do a lot. And again, once, some tickers respect the MAs pretty well, right? Other tickers don't really give a shit. And when I see it kind of mashed, pushed through like this, and it didn't really come down and test it, it broke through. I don't really pay as much attention to it. It's not that it's not interacting with it here. It's just, it's better just to find the horizontal, levels, the supply and demand levels. So. All right, and then the other one that we were talking about. Shit, am I gonna remember without looking? Nope, I'm gonna have to look. All right, yeah, Target was one. We'll take a look at that. Yeah, so Target bounced all around today. Basically, if it pushes back up to 170, you may look to short it. But also watching Walmart. That came down. Was it into the daily? No, that's an old level. Right. Well, no, actually, that is the big demand, but it's so big that better off just using some of these inside zones. So there is, it's kind of in this uptrend. I don't know if I'm trying to short anything long term with Walmart, but there's probably a better play out there. The other one is NEO. Now this is not Neo like the car, right? This is something different, genomics, but been flying, right? So this is one for anyone that wants to trade shares, in my opinion. Today would have been a perfect day. I mean, it literally came down. That was the 8 a.m. candle. So we didn't actually retrace back to that. It's also potentially a good short, although this has kind of been on a run. So it's interesting. It's one that somebody talked about and could be good. I mean, it's genomics. I don't know much about it, but check that out. NEO, if someone's trading shares, it's definitely cheap enough that you could make some cash on it. So I believe it isn't earnings for the car company NEO coming up. The problem, yeah, this is the issue with this. What do you do with this, right? I don't really want to buy it necessarily.
I think earnings tomorrow, if I remember right.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think too. Yep. Yeah, right here. Wednesday the 1st. Looking for a miss, or negative earnings in the negative. Who knows what'll happen to this? It could be bought up. I mean, it's had some nice runs. So again, if you're trading shares, these are daily candles. So just keep in mind it takes a little bit, but I mean, if we run back up to 12, 13 bucks, that's decent, right? I mean, that's like 30%. So even more, right? Yeah. So that's like 30, 35%, something like that. If you actually run back up to 13. So, we'll do that. Now you could short it too, but again, where are you shorting this? I mean, this is holding, it's holding this one candle in here, right? So, maybe it comes down, goes down to $7, but I don't really like shorting these. I don't like shorting them when they're down this far, but mainly because you got to pay so much attention to it. The other one I was looking at, shop, and then there's another chip, MU, I want to take a look at. Yeah, so shop zones have been worth playing, but you got to give yourself a little bit of time. So we are, looks like we're trying to hold underneath it. Let's see what the 4-hour looked like. Okay, so that was all after hours. So we did close back up there, and then after hours it sold off. So expect this to possibly come back up. This could be a long, right? This could be a pop back up. I mean, this isn't paying out a ton, but the options can be good on this, especially if we do get a rally. Keep that in mind. Let's look at MU. Anything else you guys want to look at that you've been looking to trade? Besides the indices?
If you could take a look Netflix for me, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That was actually one that I was looking at earlier. So yeah, for sure. MU, right? Just keep in mind this is another one that potential buy. Got a lot of the moving averages coming together, right? Orange is 50, red down at the bottom, or reddish. I mean, it's supposed to be red anyways, is the 100, and this is the 200. So the 50-day has been kind of what held here for what it's worth. There are obvious zones here. This is your 4-hour supply or 4-hour demand. Down here, we haven't quite touched that. I'm sure there's some daily levels here. So yeah, that's your daily demand right here off this candle. So, and you can see that once I put the lines in. Right, and when I'm looking for this, I see this candle, right? So I look where the wick's down and where it closes, come over, I see that it's, there's this big guy, but then that's obviously, when I look to the left, it's inside the body of this. So then we snap a line on this and you can see how it's perfect test, right? It's a perfect test of that daily demand. So it is holding the demand zone. Obviously it is, trending down, but considering the base that it's made here for MU, this is, this isn't exactly, I mean, it could come down more, but it doesn't look super bearish. And the fact that all the averages are kind of turning, the thing that to keep in mind, of course, is this is, still chips. So who the fuck knows? It could obviously roll over with the rest of them, but it looks to me a lot better than AMD. And it certainly isn't pumped up as much as like something like NVIDIA. So I wanted to look at the hourly, and then, then we can look at Netflix and go from there, I guess, and wrap it up. The so there is, some hourly levels here. It looks like we're trying to come down and touch. So this is actually, I'm going to put an alert. Where do I want the alert? I'm going to put the alert here.
Have you traded MU lately? I haven't traded it probably since a long time ago when you and I used to trade it
Yeah,
quite frequently.
Yeah, I know, dude. That's the thing, man. We used to trade this thing.
We used
A
to,
lot, dude.
this was our MES
I know
for a
dude,
little bit.
No, well, it was on and off. I have traded it since, like, going back fucking, what was that? At least a year and a half, basically. At least, right? Maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was probably 2 years ago when we were trading it, when we were really focused on it. But it would have nice moves, right? I mean, for a while there. Let's go back to the daily here, but for a while this thing was a fucking monster. I mean, I remember this, dude. Friggin' October 20. This is fall of 2020, dude. This thing just went fucking bananas and came down, went back up. God, dude. It's hard to think that some of these were this high, man. I remember when this thing was up in the 80s. And it's at fucking 50. But I will
With
say,
Neo,
like,
when you pulled up Neo, I was just thinking that same exact thing on how high Neo used to be and how people were seeing that thing going to the
my
moon.
God, how many
And now look
people
at it.
fucking
Now it's at
held
what,
on to
12
that?
bucks?
Dude, it's up to 16, but yeah, no, it was bad. Now, I will say this, should have been buying some of this shit down here, right? Like, at the end of the day, they make cars, they're on. When this thing touched, what was it, $6? I mean, even not at $6, right? But just even after it came back down recently, buying it at $8-9. Like, these are the trades that I just want to focus. I want to get in the habit again of looking. I've been doing it over the weekend, just going through some of the tickers again, because like I'll day trade all day long. But the thing is, like, there's some buying opportunities, not everything, but things like this, looking at like MU, NVIDIA was another one of them, that we're just down so much that once the hype kicked in, you don't even have to be the first person on the train, right? Like I say, like, this happened in October. You could have bought here, at the beginning of the year when it kind of came down and it held the zone here. And that's the thing, the fucking zone. I've had these zones, for a while, at least. I mean, since we were coming down, I think I put zones down here again, although I don't know, man. I mean, I used to have zones obviously on Neo from 2020 at least. So yeah, these must be new because they hadn't been down here. But yeah, man, I mean, that's nuts. I mean, it was right. What was the high on that? Yeah, $61. I remember people in the 50s and 60s, dude, talking about how it's going to be the next Tesla. And at that time, Tesla was friggin', you know, whatever, $900 or whatever, you know, it was, or at least $600-700. You know how many people bag held this and bounced and probably didn't sell here? And if they were lucky, they sold back up here for a loss. But I mean, I remember hearing talking to people on Twitter that when it came down to the 30s, talking about it's going to turn around and shit, man. You know, and it might. I mean, look, this is that's a pretty good rebound what it's doing right now, but it is coming into I can show you right here. Coming into some, you know, some obvious areas of supply. You got this one here. All these levels kind of count to a degree, right? So we're kind of tagging this first weekly zone. You know, this is going to be this is a challenge area right here, right? From, you know, if it gets back over, I will say if it gets back over like $23-24, you know, at some point, and I haven't bought it because it hasn't dipped down again. I might buy it again because, you know, they make, I mean, you know, in China, they're doing pretty well, you know, like they are actually making cars, one of the, you know, few EVs that actually have product. So
You're on the wrong Neo chart, just so you know.
oh fuck, I'm sorry. God damn it, dude. I did
No, you're
that
good.
last time,
I
too.
didn't think you heard me the first time.
No,
but yeah.
I didn't, dude. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's why I was gonna say I'm like, it's a hell of a bounce, dude. Yeah, that's why I didn't pay attention.
Something looks funny.
Oh my god, dude. It did fill this gap down here on the weekly. That's interesting, but yeah, no, this is just fucking terrible, dude. What was the high on this? What was, yeah, it was still like 60, yeah, $60. Because I was gonna say I remember people in the 50s, dude, and I remember people down in the 30s, and it was this little area here where they were talking about, you know, they were bag holding from, I mean, I don't know what everybody's entry was per se, but I guarantee they were definitely down, right? Hopefully they weren't down too much and they got rid of it. But I mean, in 1 week, you know, those are weekly candles, but in 1 or 2 weeks, you got a huge drop. Fucking 30 to 20, you're down 30%. Ugh. Yeah, that other one, the NEO looks better than this fucking thing. But I would buy this if this bases out more. I would buy, you know, the Neo car company at some point. So like, you know, it's at friggin', you know, it's at $9. So do I buy it here though? Not probably with the weeklies looking like this. Like I'd like to see obviously a little bit more of a base, but you know, we'll see. What was this? This was the October. No, this was October. Yeah, okay. So that was still a low. Man. It did hold that man, it held that gap, and I guess it still is technically. It's kind of interesting. There, you know, pretty good risk to reward here, I would say. I mean, it'd be better if you got a dip down to the weekly demand here, this little red candle. But if you got a quick dip down to it, it would be, I mean, that's a relatively decent risk to reward, right? So you're talking your entry, say your entry is at $7.90 or something, or $8. Where's $8? Yeah, just slightly above it. You know, and you could have your stop. Well, you'd want your stop to be underneath this candle. So, you know, maybe try to buy it closer to $7. Like if it actually dipped into this, you know, obviously you go on the daily and find a better entry, but you want your stop to probably be like 640 or something like that, 638. So, you know, do your risk to reward with that. But I mean, that's not terrible necessarily. Just to see if it bounces here, right? Like that is one of the things that I agree with some of the people that were buying in October, you know, when everything dipped so hard that, you know, at the end of the day, like it's not about, like, you don't have to be right on every trade, right? Obviously don't just go buying everything, know like what you're risking, but when you're trading commons, you might as well pick up some of the shit, because we're not just going to go straight down again. You know, we may do another leg, but at some point it's going to bottom and bounce. So anyways, that is kind of what I'm looking at. I do want to put an alert on this. Yeah, dude, I was looking at the NEO though, more recently than NIO. And this is, I mean, again, I don't know jack shit about this, so it may just be something that could get rug pulled, but I mean, you know, this is something that was doing really well. So it's interesting to see it pop up like this. I mean, I'm not buying it here, but if it gets a bit of a pullback, like maybe down to just to keep, sometimes I like setting alerts just to keep my mind focused on it. But you know, but there are some levels to play with this. So it's an interesting ticker. Shit stands out in it, especially on the 4 hour. All right, so what else? Netflix. Let's look at that. All right. So Netflix, messy Netflix. I'll tell you what, this is what we're gonna do. So definitely follow the OG zones, in my opinion. These are still relevant. Obviously, like we kind of played around with one. It looks like we're gonna break it again. But what I want to do is go over here and we'll look at it. Look at it on a blank chart. But we can just get a feel for what the hell's going on. Yeah, so for what it's worth. Yeah, this is kind of choppy up because obviously that's a weekly supply there too, but yeah, for what it's worth, right? Similar situation. You do have a supply here. We finally got that gap out of it. So it would be nice to see Netflix push back up to 338, but at this point it may not. I am going to look at a smaller time frame. I just wanted to take a peek at that. So the thing with Netflix. Yeah, I mean, I would watch this to a degree. I don't know. I don't really like that necessarily. It's the thing. I don't like fucking trend lines like this, but I would say that there's definitely a yeah, I don't know, something like that, and then yeah, it's probably better. All right, so there's a channel here though, right? Then again, this is subjective. You could say, hey, maybe it's a little bit different. So don't necessarily think that this means it's holding per se, right? Because this line is, again, I drew that from the top. I just happened to pick that, and I mean, it seems to work. But yeah, keep in mind that this is still kind of in this channel area. So we do need to see more of a break here. As far as the the supply and demand zones go, this is the daily. I believe that this is correct. Yeah. So this is your daily demand, right? Which we did hold. Going back to Friday, that was Thursday and Friday. So keep in mind that that's coming up. Now that's 316. There's a good movement here, right? I mean, you could easily drop, or you could easily, make money in that move. But just keep in mind that doesn't need to be broken. If that breaks, I think we have massive downside coming. And I think it would be, I'd be aiming for somewhere along the weekly. So, which would be, what is that? Yeah. So basically 300 at least. Now, I think we could see even more than that with Netflix if it comes down. But again, the market's probably going to have to move with us as well. So, but yeah, watch that 316.83. To 315.17. There are, obviously there's 4-hour demand down here a little bit further. There's some other levels that you can look at even on the hourly here. And we'll go back to the chart with the zones, but I just wanted to look at the broader picture. Actually, why don't I do this? I'll post this with the daily. And then we'll go back to the other one. So yeah, AP, just go into the trade ideas. Should probably put Netflix. All right, so then we can go look at this one with the zones because they're on the smaller time frame. There's definitely shit going on here. This is what I was watching, I guess, the other day. Let's get rid of those. So is that the same daily? No, all right. So that's what I was looking at here. There's a couple ways to interpret these zones. Something to keep in mind that I think I've been kind of playing around with now. There's the daily demand here. That's obviously that's what is in control. Just keep in mind though that this was a major supply. Like we never, as far as the daily, we kept gapping up and then we would close bearish, right? So when we finally got this push up, this was a retest, okay, which it did hold this demand. So this is the zone to kind of watch. But just keep in mind that this is still just it bounced coming down. We're kind of retesting this big daily supply again. Now, which would tell me that if we continue to close, especially if we closed out the rest of the week, these are daily candles, so there'd be multiples of them, above this 320, then I would expect more upside. So just keep that in mind. But again, the main daily demand, or the daily zone that you really want to get a signal off of is definitely this bearish candle here. But it is something when you guys are looking at supply and demand zones, that's something I would recommend. You want to like go back and read the chart, especially if it's something you haven't been charting, kind of read it. It's kind of like what like SJ was talking about with that hourly demand, right? Like that was a level that I mean on ES it had definitely been that we had closed through it. It had been invalidated. And then we didn't just retest it and then reject. We went back up through it and stuff. So that's why I kind of like I didn't like that zone per se, but that level still obviously interacts with. So it's not that you can't have it on your chart or anything. But but do look at look at the charts like that. Like you kind of want to look, especially on the bigger time frames, to see, because sometimes it's like, well, where's the demand? Well, if it's just retesting a supply or an area that that had been a struggle, a month ago or a couple months ago on the way up or whatever in the opposite direction, then it would make sense if this is just a retest or it's, we're coming back down to test that level again. So definitely keep that in mind. And it's something you just have to kind of be subjective about and use I don't want to say common sense, but just use try to think about it logically as possible and see what the story is telling you, because it really is about, the story that charts are laying out. So here we have new hourly. So yeah, we do have this bigger daily zone, but remember, I guess I should mark that on this one here. Let's do that real quick. I'll never be able to see it. Yeah, there we go. All right. Anyways. Okay, so basically where that daily demand is where your hourly demand is as well. So you're going to be able to get a signal off the hourly close without necessarily having to wait for a daily close. But are you short at Netflix, AP?
Yeah, my average is 288.
Since what?
My average is 288 on short.
Yeah, but I don't know which contracts you got and stuff, but what?
No, it's just a short.
So your
just
average
common.
is 288.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
No, I shorted at 288 spot.
Oh, way back here.
Yeah, way back here. We know before the earning it ran up, I just got into that bad trap. So I've been holding it.
Oh shit. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What is the maintenance on that?
Oh,
Is-
there's no maintenance. There's no maintenance.
Okay. All right.
Because
Yes.
it's not HTB yet.
Okay. Yeah. All right. No doubt. So that's not as bad. Yeah. So you got to come way down then. You're looking for it to come down to this. 288. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 288. Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in probably a couple more months I'm looking at it. It's been 4 months, I think. I've been holding back. It's a big bag.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, look, I think it is, if it breaks this area, right, which is definitely key. Not just because of the, you can kind of see, right, how we've come up to this and then we dropped, came back up, we got the pullback and bounce. So if we do break through underneath this, then you probably are going to be on the right track down. I would just be cautious, and again, I'd watch at that point. I think I'd probably watch like the weekly closes. I don't know. It's tough with Netflix because if it runs, obviously it runs pretty hard. Now, the good sign or the good thing is that we don't have earnings for a little while. So, right. What is that? Yeah, April 18th. So you still have a
No,
month and a half.
I think the bad news is the reason why it went down because they're dropping the pricing in Asia and other countries because they are not able to gaining the subscriber the way they thought. So they are dropping already pricing overseas on subscriptions, trying to
Oh yeah.
attract the
Yeah.
customers. I think
It's
that's
not surprised. I mean, I think in a better economy, they might be able to sustain that. But I say that although they need better content, period. I mean, they just are too, I mean, not, I don't know, some of their stuff's okay, but man, so much of it is just politically charged. And I think it just turns off, you know, and it's, I don't know, there's issues with some of the shit. So yeah, no, I mean, I think overall, dude, it's a decent, you know, it's a good short. Honestly, I should have gotten short up here more heavily with longer dated contracts. I just, you know, I talked about it and I just kind of ignored it, ended up just focusing more on ES and SPX. But yeah, I mean, look, you're back under the 50, right? You know, and the 200 is down, what, 257? Yeah. So I mean, obviously that's down there. You know, if we could get down to this level, you'd probably see, what is that, 276? So I mean, that really is, that's not your, you know, you do have another daily here, but you said 288, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is well within range, because I mean, look, I do expect it to get down to this 277 area, I guess would be the, is that right? That would be the daily support, 277-ish. And that's going to be a tough area, right? I think that just stands out on the charts. I could be wrong, maybe it goes further, you know, but anyways, this is the area to break. It's definitely at a key spot. And you can just kind of see that it was the top over here. It's obviously the support for this day. So yeah, if we can get a drop underneath it, it would be beneficial to you. And it's probably, and it's at that point, I would look to possibly take some shorts again, you know, not as long dated and as confidently as up here. But I would like, you know, and partially because of what we're seeing here as well, right? Even if this is off a little bit, like there's a good chance that we are, you know, this should look more like, where is it? That this should look more like this, right? So, you know, you could say that that's the channel, right? And that we are, you know, we broke underneath it and kind of pop back up. And, you know, if we open and get another daily close underneath, you know, then you could say, hey, that channel is moving. Now, bottom line is you want to get underneath this daily level, period, right? You want a daily close. If you get a daily close under 315, then you're going to be golden, in my opinion. Then you should see, you know, it may still take a couple months, but we should see more of a downtrend here. So this is man, what a fucking run though.
Yeah, it ran up so much. I usually have stop loss. For some reason I was too confident, overconfident that time. So anyway.
Well, yeah, and if you missed it during, I think when it ran up for that earnings, right? Like if it didn't
No, I had an opportunity to come get out with the profit, but I was being greedy. That was my problem was.
yeah,
But anyway, I
Yeah.
learned my lesson a long way. To just, I mean, it's good. I don't have options, so I'm not in loss or anything like that.
yeah, no, well, yeah, and if it comes, I mean, look, it comes down, and I mean, obviously, if this gets to break even, I would just cut it.
Yeah, definitely.
know what I
That's a
mean?
goal.
Right.
No,
just-
that's a goal. That's a goal. So I can make it up with other shorts too. Even-
Exactly, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, you can, you know, this thing starts dropping, there's no reason not to play puts on it. I mean, if you look at the daily, it's pretty wide open here. You know, that is one of the good things, right? At least down, you know, like I said, to this 275 area, 277. I mean, there will be a stop, I assume, here around 300. But you know, there's some decent shorts inside of here. It's just the biggest thing with Netflix is buying with a little bit of time. So, you know, it's obviously tricky. So I'm going to put an alert down here. Now, I mean, the flip side of this is if it holds here, right? If it holds this daily demand and the market doesn't, say the market kind of drops still, but it goes sideways, right? And it doesn't really give us like a major leg, especially in tech. This thing could easily chop around in between here, in between this weekly supply and in this zone for, you know, for a little while. So just keep that in mind. But we do want to see, you know, if we get a daily close below that 315.17, you know, it looks good. And I don't think that, you know, we kind of ran up to these weekly levels. I mean, like we were looking at it on ES, right? It was, you know, this is pretty key right here. The fact that we've rejected this again after kind of holding it, you know, here these were just tests that we dropped pretty quick. That to me says, like, I think unless something changes in the economy, like this is kind of like, that was the rally, right? Like we need some more decent downside, like at least come back down and test 3,600. And then, maybe we'll get another bear market rally that won't be quite as big, and then like I said, I do see another line down. Check this out for what it's worth. I don't know if you guys were here for this when I was doing it, but if I threw a channel on this down here, right? Obviously this is a weekly chart, ignoring the COVID drop. And it does put us, it's an interesting target. I mean, it's not, it's not really my target per se, but again, I could see us, coming down or, throughout the summer. Let's say we do come down, it'll probably be choppier, but I could see us coming down and touching this somewhere, like this would be July. So, for what it's worth, this would be July if we got down to here. This is down near that 3,100. 3,200 is kind of my target, just because this is this would be the bottom, right? This is the weekly demand where we bounced in this big area back in 2020. I feel like we should get down to this, but then again, for what it's worth, we got to break some of these levels first. So yeah, anyways, so. But I guess my point with all that is that Netflix and all of these tickers, honestly, these big name tickers, especially that are, heavy in tech, you're heavy in the NASDAQ, and even some outside of the NASDAQ, but they've tested these big weekly zones. So like, unless the economy is turning around and like, hey, this is just another dip, or, or something's going to change come summer, that's for the positive, which I just don't see happening, right? Like, I think that this was kind of our top, right? Like this it'll probably be the highest that we get, especially on ES, right? Obviously individual tickers can run, but I imagine this is probably the highest that we get for the, probably for the year, realistically, right? Now, maybe we come back up and test this again, but I don't see us breaking this weekly supply. Like something would have to change. There's obviously massive sellers sitting here. The market is, I don't want to say it's rigged, but it's heavily influenced right now. It's definitely being steered in a sense through basically the 0DT options. And it doesn't mean that there's like a mastermind master plan behind it, but there are these funds that know that they can come in and basically stall the inevitable by buying up. I mean, a lot of the bounces that happened, you guys, where it looked like we should have just sold the fuck off. A lot of the buying that came in, you could see it in the flow. It was, it was institutional buying of 0DTEs, right? And short-term options contracts that then brought the price back up. And, because they can play with so much money. So that is a new thing, right? And that's kind of what makes the VIX. Let's take a look at that real quick. I'm pissed today, dude. I'm not really pissed, but I kept saying I want to buy at 20. Look where we came down to today. And it was in the afternoon when I was fucking busy dicking around with some other shit. We literally came down to $20.10. I wanted to buy calls down here. And I didn't, I just wasn't around paying attention. So
do you think we should see 39.11, that weekly zone on this ES this week? You think so?
yeah. I mean, I think so. Yeah, I think it'll happen this week. And it might not, it could be the next week, but I don't know. I don't see what's going to run us up this week. I think we will trend down and probably touch it. The question is whether we bounce and close underneath it, right? I'd like to see a close underneath. Obviously if we touch it and pull up and close above, then we'll probably have another week of bullishness, although back to what, right? Maybe just back to 4K, maybe back to 40, 50 max, that this dotted line that I have, this 39.88, this isn't a demand zone per se, right? But the reality is that it is still, this is still a weekly interaction, right? Like this is where a week pushed up, then we had this, pullback, but indecisiveness as far as the open and close, and then continued up. So this is almost like a speed bump, right? Like a speed bump zone or whatever. Even though like this isn't necessarily a signal here, like this would be a false signal. You get a weekly close below this, right? Because it's not truly the demand. The demand is down here. But just keep in mind that it is an area, right? And you can see how we came up and retested. Now we retested this trend line, but it lines up pretty damn well with the top of this bearish weekly candle here. with the opening price of it. So just pay attention kind of to that. I would assume that we could do this, right? We could just close bearish down tier, not really touch 39.11. Yeah, but I don't know. That would just be strange. I mean, I honestly think that unless we have some bullish news that comes out, or some bullish data somehow, we're basically testing 39.50 today. That like, I don't think that'll hold again, right? Like, I think that will come through that and at least come down. I mean, 39.25 will probably see some gamma there, but definitely 3900 is going to be the big wall or the big floor. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't necessarily expect us to drop like this week all the way down, but I could see us closing inside and then next week getting, a little bit of a pop and potentially more downside, or maybe we have a bullish week that runs us back up, like I said, to 39.50. And then we chop. I mean, look, anything's possible. And I honestly don't really know. I'm bearish overall. But keep in mind that we are just retesting this trend line, right? Like, we haven't actually done that. We could come all the way down, wick, close back above this, and then, shoot all the way back up to 41.50 for all we really know. But I don't see, like, these big weeks where we pushed way up and then obviously came way back down, especially this week here. These were pretty, we had a lot of positive data. People really were on the fence. I think after this last rally and now the subsequent sell-off, the market perception is changing, right? Like, you just don't see as many bulls. I mean, there's people who are possibly bullish, but I've been seeing tweets and articles that, people are, there's a lot more articles with institutions talking bearish again, right? And there's people who are like, well, I'm still down to buy the dip, but I want to wait. I'm a little more cautious. Like, I want to buy it a little bit lower, which is smart because, and they can play bounces, right? I mean, obviously this was a hell of a run from, even just from December. So much less from October. But yeah, so that's the thing to watch, man. It's more about the weekly close. I do think we can get down to 39.11, but I want to see, again, it's like, I want to get a signal from the weekly candle close. So we need to test it first and then see where that goes, because for the rest of this week, what you want to be playing are these smaller zones, right? Like, there's 4-hour demand right down here, right at this level. That seems like a decent target, especially since we got these closes underneath. This was your 4-hour demand, and then the next one's going to be this little candle right here. So, I mean, I don't think it'd take too much of a jump to get down there. And I'm not seeing a ton of, we got a little retrace back up, but obviously now we're back down under again. So, yeah, I just don't see any bullishness per se, anything that would signal saying that we're bullish. So. All right, so let's what time is it? Yeah, it's 10:30. Let's cut this and I'll get the recording going. And yeah, we'll be, I'll be around tomorrow to trade. Not sure if we'll do a space or not. I haven't scheduled one, but probably won't tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. And then tomorrow, I'm not going to be around for tomorrow power hour. I got to pick up my daughter and take her to horseback riding. So, but then Thursday, Friday, I'll definitely be around. I'm gonna have their grandmother pick her up, but last time her grandmother tried to take her to horseback riding, she didn't make it because her grandma got lost, even though there's clear directions on the fucking phone. So anyways, it's the second time that she's gotten lost. So I'm taking my kid to horseback riding. So, but I will be around for the day. Nothing really in between. So hopefully we get some fucking movement here. Watch out for, I mean, we could push back up to 39.89, but again, use the zones just to see where you're going to get the signals from, right? Like if
Hey,
we
Alex,
keep testing this and can't close below, then short it. Yeah, what's up?
sorry if you talked about this, I joined late. NVIDIA, with what's going on with them, is that going to continue to drop?
Yeah, so
You know,
I am
is that
bearish
just-
on it. I did touch on it, but you may not have been in here, which is fine. The let's go back to it here.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I can touch on it real quick. The yeah, definitely I am bearish on it. So what I'd like to see is a push back up and a retest of 230. at some point tomorrow. I don't know if we're gonna get that. We'll have to see where it opens. It wouldn't surprise me to see it open somewhere here, maybe a slight gap, but maybe not even. And then pre-market sell off into this hourly demand, right? I don't want to just short it here. We'll have to see what signal we get from this, but yeah, these are the levels that I'm watching. So I can post this chart again too, since we updated it. I'll put it in the trade ideas, but it's yeah, it's stuff. I mean, look, there are people that are going to buy it up, but at the end of the day, it's a bearish, it's an offering. So and I don't know. I don't know when the offering is going to happen, if it is truly immediate or what, but there was also insider selling. So there's been insider selling all last week. There was some insider selling a little bit lower as well. But even today, there was, I don't know if it was the CEO, it was one of the bigger names sold a bunch. And then obviously after hours announced this offering. So for what it's worth, they are, they're trimming their positions. I mean, no one's like out completely, but they're trimming some pretty decent size off of it. And then
if
they're
you want
offering
to,
10 billion.
if you want to play commons, you can add SOXS calls or commons.
Yeah, that's right. That's the one. SXOS, right? Yeah. No,
Yeah,
what does it say?
SOXS.
That's that Soxel, right? Yeah, right. This is the semiconductor one. I do believe there's like an NVIDIA Q or whatever, but
It is in there. NVIDIA is in there.
what's that? No, I know
And-
it's part of this, yeah, but I think there is a short NVIDIA specifically. Yeah, I
Really?
thought- pretty sure somebody was talking about it, but I don't know. I'd have to. It's not in the US. Yeah, I'll have to look for it. Maybe I was thinking, maybe it's something else I was looking that they were talking about, but I don't know. Yeah, right. No.
Actually, we get a really
Yeah,
today nice opportunity to add that SO access to, but I missed that. But I added after hours. I think it's NVIDIA gonna crush bad.
Yeah, I think it will too. The only question is, I mean, I'd like to see, again, if NVIDIA comes up. Now, again, this obviously isn't just NVIDIA, so this, may do its own thing. But yeah, this was obviously a nice, this is after hours, this big pop, but yeah, buying down here, not bad, right? I mean, look, you can still play these supply and demand zones on this. I mean, you have hourly demand all the way down here, which, you can see we've touched that multiple times, right? And every time we do, it gets bought up. So again, that's right near the $21 mark. You could look at it that way too. But as far as NVIDIA goes, I would say, and again, so that's SOXL, right? Or SXOL. What was it? SOXL. No. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
S. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna post in the trade ideas so that you guys can, if anybody not sure about that. Oops. What am I doing? And then there's SOXL too, right? Which is the long Soxel, right? Isn't that what Joseph always talks about?
Yeah, that's bullish.
Right. So that's the bullish one, but anyways, the thing to watch out for is if NVIDIA comes down pre-market and opens down near this 225, 224, right? This blue zone, just be careful because, watch the hourly closes. I mean, if we close underneath, then, we probably will just retest the zone. But if we keep closing and we get an hourly close, if price tests this and closes back above it, just be cautious because it'll probably get bought up. Now, at that point, I am looking at 229, this 229.60 to 230, somewhere in there. So it may only come back up and retest that. It just depends. We'll have to see what the market's doing, right? Maybe it sells off bad. And again, if it breaks, I mean, I think, SOXS, if NVIDIA breaks this 219, watch out. I think that thing's going to fly. So, it'll have already popped at that point. But in the coming days and, even into next week, that's definitely one of the spots that I'm watching. So, but yeah, we'll be checking this throughout the day. This is it's definitely bearish, so.
Hey traders, I noticed something, I don't know if it's odd, but right at 8 o'clock, the SPX, it was on its way down and then it just has a bunch of green candles going up. So it's pretty much gone up since
What,
8.
what's 8 o'clock, what time frame, what time zone?
20 Eastern, so 2800 or 2000.
I think, I
Um,
think trader China opened today and they're doing QE. Is that what it is?
You're talking about this one, right?
The SPX,
The SPX 500 USD?
the Awanda one. Yeah, I use the one you use.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So that would be
Yeah.
ES too, basically. Yeah, so 8 o'clock. Right. I mean, yeah, so did you have China? Keep in mind that like even looking at ES like we were, we came down and tested this area, perfectly, right? And held above it. So there's always a reason that these zones will hold. But again, like it makes sense. We came down. This is the first time we've tested the zone again recently, right? I mean, obviously we did back here, but this bounce now, this much of a bounce probably has to do with China. So, and you're right, and AP's right, they are doing QE.
Does
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
mean that the SPY is gonna open up with a gap in the upwards direction?
If it holds, yeah.
Since
I mean, if it holds into
open,
yeah, sorry, I'm looking at messages, but yeah, if this holds up here till open, it will, yeah, SPY will gap. Well, where was the close? The close was here at the bottom of this candle. So it wouldn't gap up too much if it stays right where it's at here. You gotta remember, all of this price action is after close. This is after hours. Obviously, SPY closes 8 p.m. Eastern time. You'll see if you're looking at the hourly, you will see SPY like trending down. But again, if you're looking at the daily, it closed here. Basically like SPX closed somewhere, around 39.60 something, right? Whatever it is. So it depends on where, yeah, that's when you're looking at SPX, right? That's why I track this, because wherever this is going to go up to, that's where SPX is going to open. Same with SPY, right? SPY is obviously it's a tenth of it, but it's not exactly a tenth, right? But you can gauge obviously with the price action where SPY is going to open up. SPY, you'll start getting candles at 4 a.m. Eastern time. So we'll have to see, I don't know if you're up that early, but you could potentially look at SPX at 3:55 a.m., right? And know basically where SPY was going to open up pre-market. So yeah, that's because these are the futures. So that's exactly what drives it. Yeah, when you see a big bounce or a drop, that's how you get the gaps on the ETFs. Same with QQQ and the NASDAQ, and like IWM and the Russell and the Dow pairs. So,
and then the rest of the stocks just kind of fall in line.
Yeah, I mean, they'll gap up too, depending on what's going on. Like if we pull up, I mean, if we end up opening up, like let's say SPX goes up 39.80, everything will gap up a little bit. Not every ticker, but like something like Tesla that'll probably end up opening back up, like up here near 207 or something like that.
Okay, thanks for explaining that.
Yep, for sure, dude. Yeah, so yeah, that's why we follow this, and that's why I chart this here. I mean, it's because it tracks. I can basically track. I can use this all day long to trade SPX. It's close enough to where like I don't have to try to do the math from ES to SPX. So, but if you're only on TD, then you can't access this. They don't have the Owanda chart. But it's not that difficult to track ES and then just wait to see where SPX opens, I guess. But anyway, so yeah, let's all right, let's wrap this up. It's getting late. I gotta go take a shower and then go to bed. But
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. So we are testing that hourly demand. This is the retest of it, the first time that we've retested it. So keep that in mind. We have that here on ES, this blue line. but on SPX, it's the same one, right? It's this little bearish candle here. So what I would say is that if you're trading futures, I would want to see where we close in 10 minutes, right? If we close above right now, this upper pink line is the same as, that's where the upper part of the hourly would be as well. If this hourly candle closes above that, then we're probably going to continue to the upside. But if we come down, and you can see how it's struggling right here, if it closes inside of this, or especially underneath the 39.7450, then that's probably just a retest, and we'll end up trending back down. So there is same thing with the NQ here. You can see the 5-minute supply. We haven't quite tested it yet, but we're getting pretty close. So, but I don't think I'll be trading it at this point. I'm gonna, like I said, I gotta take a shower and then I'm going to bed. But yeah, all right, cool. Well, listen, guys, I'll try to get this recording out tonight, and yeah, we'll chat again in the morning. I'll definitely be
Thanks,
around.
Alex.
Yeah, no problem, dude. I'll be around all day, except for just power hour, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So that's that is it. Yeah, Tommy, we can do that. I just saw your message for sure. Yeah, having a list of stocks is a playlist. I mean, I still have my playlist of interesting tickers. There's a few that we could add on, and then at least just pay attention to, So I'm doing that on Sunday myself. Saturday and Sunday, just kind of going over some charts. The other one is Boyle, guys. So Boyle obviously had a decent move here. I am watching this daily supply. You could buy the dip here. Worked out decently for anybody that did. I would like to see more of a pullback to really get a deeper entry, I guess you could say, just because we have so much supply up here. But Boyle is kind of trending away, and if it starts breaking up, and if we can get some daily closes above some of these zones, I'll be long it. So anyways, that's the other last one. So all right, guys, have a good night, and we will chat in the morning. Hopefully nothing, hopefully we come back down, but we'll see. I mean, you gotta remember that was a pretty big drop, so it's not surprising to see us kind of bounce here and pick back up. And keep in mind that on this chart, even though ES does look a little different, this is still the one that follows price action really well. And we did get the 4-hour close, both of those last 4-hour closes above. So it's not going to surprise me if overnight, at least this candle closes above. Now, maybe something will happen in the EU open that could push us down, but we'll have to see if that, when that happens. So that is it. All right. Have a good night. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.